Welcome to Ricky Rambles, the podcast where I, Ricky, ramble about something. So here we go. Welcome to Ricky Rambles. I was going to talk about a totally different topic, but I saw a Facebook ad that got my attention, and it's kind of relevant to the Frug life, so this probably will be a cross post on the Frug life. But what I saw was an ad for the Live Like No One Else cruise with Dave Ramsey. And I thought, oh, I like cruises, and Dave Ramsey, personal finance, there's a connection there. Let me look how much this cruise costs. And the starting price is $2,000 per traveler for a 7-day cruise. Now that's not so absurd. It's definitely a higher price 7-day cruise, in my opinion, because that $2,000 starting price, right, is for an interior room, you know, the one with no windows whatsoever. You are in the middle of the ship, right? So you don't have any view whatsoever, no window. And actually, that's the room I stayed at previously on the one cruise I went on, and I enjoyed it. But the price was a lot different. Way less. But that price in and of itself isn't too absurd. As I started looking down at the events, though, right, I started looking at all the upsales they have. One was a VIP upgrade, which was $1,500 per person for some like little, I don't know, a mix event at a hotel the night before or some other random stuff. Entrepreneur, actually, how do you even say this word? Leadership at sea. There's a 3-hour mastermind and it costs $2,000 per person. And everything is, per person. And usually, I think if you're just a solo traveler, everything is actually more expensive. Everything cruises is meant for couples. So really the, $2,000 per person is $4,000 because it's you and your spouse. And then a marriage at sea that, what is this? A morning and afternoon session where you get a journal and it costs $400. Like, it costs extra to just go to this random session. $400 extra. Which is crazy. You'd think that the, silly little events they have are free. And so then the thing that kind of, started to take the cake for me, though, that I'm like, oh, okay, this is strange. Which is the evening dress code. On a typical 7-day cruise, you'll have 2 nights of dressing up for dinner and other special events. We suggest a semi-formal skirt and blouse or dress for women and a suit for men. Let me just pause there for a second. This is a Caribbean cruise, if I forgot to mention. And they want the men to bring a suit in the Caribbean? I like wearing suits, but I'm not going to wear a suit in the Caribbean. You're crazy. All right, let's go back to the dress code. The remaining dinners on the cruise are informal. Blouse and pants for women, and collared shirts and trousers for men. Remember that t-shirts, shorts, and tank tops are prohibited in the dining room. No t-shirts. So, I think they have a very different idea of what a, tropical Caribbean vacation should look like, right? I'm looking at the website too, and it also has tips on keeping your battery alive on your cell phone. And one of the tips is that you'll want to charge your phone every night to ensure you have enough battery for the next day. Thank you, Dave Ramsey. I'm told that cruise ship passengers are often an older demographic, and this information certainly caters to that older demographic. Okay, so the cruise itinerary is pretty cool. It starts in Fort Lauderdale, You go to an island, the Grand Turk. I don't really know where that is. You go to Puerto Rico. You go to a U.S. Virgin Island. You go to the Bahamas. You end in Fort Lauderdale. Let me just check another website and see how much a similar cruise might cost. And so maybe there's some deceptive pricing here, but if I check the Royal Caribbean website and look for a somewhat similar 7-day cruise, it's more like $600, $800 for what I think is pretty comparable. As that one leaves from Puerto Rico. I think, though, it could be half as much, though. Oh, yeah, and that's for an interior, right? Even the nice balcony one is $1,300, which is less than an interior on this Dave Ramsey cruise. Whew, and I just looked. There are rooms on this Dave Ramsey cruise that are going for $6,500. And I think that is before taxes and fees, which it says $230 taxes and fees. Or maybe that's included in the price. It's a little ambiguous. Well, let me click on one. Let me click on one a little bit and see what it's. And wow, it lets you select which deck I think you want to be on, and the cheapest decks are already taken. Oh wow, and you have to pick your freaking room? That's crazy. I guess if you're prone to motion sickness or something, or you have some preference as to what room you're in, it's good. I kind of don't care for the most part. Yeah, just for fun, let me I'm just gonna add all the add-ons to this, getting the cheapest room with all the add-ons, and let's see what this price is. Okay, so for the room it wants $3,770. I clicked a bunch of add-ons, which are $6,000. The taxes and fees are not included, and it was $230, like I said, per person. And so my 7-day cruise with all the add-ons is going to be $10,000. And I think this is before any tipping or anything like that. When I booked with Norwegian, right, at the end of the trip, they tack on a bunch of tips and stuff. And they didn't tell you about it up front, or at least I didn't notice about it up front, which is one reason that I haven't booked with Norwegian again. I guess I don't want to turn this into a ramble about Norwegian. That was one thing I was grumpy about on my cruise. Oh, well, that, and that they canceled, most of the ports. One due to bad weather on the ship, and then one they canceled before the ship left. So I was supposed to go to 4 different ports. We only went to 2. So that wasn't great. Oh, the other thing about the Norwegian website, maybe I'll go there, is they advertise all these deals. You get these 4 deals when you book. At least this is what they did at the time. And these are all the things you do. Tips included, this included, that included, blah, blah, blah. But then if you book an interior room, the deal doesn't apply. Still, they're so cheap, I might book another one at some point. Okay, I'm rambling about Dave, or I'm supposed to be rambling about Dave and not Norwegian. All that said, maybe the $2,000 without any of the perks isn't that crazy of a deal. I might do it for the content. Probably not, because I'm kind of too busy. 1. And 2, it is kind of expensive. But I could meet Dave, and maybe I'd meet other personal finance-minded people that would want to subscribe to the podcast. Maybe Dave would kick me off the boat for talking about the things that I kind of disagree with him about. I could wind up marooned on an island in the Caribbean. That could be fun. I have noticed one additional fact about the Dave Ramsey Cruise that is pretty funny. And that is, well, listen to this. What you must know about using money and credit cards in the Caribbean. And it goes on to list a bunch of information. Consider leaving unnecessary credit cards at home once you determine which cards you'll bring. Notify each credit card company of your travel dates, blah, 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 blah. For each card, you should store information in a separate secure place. Almost all Caribbean destinations except U.S. credit cards or debit cards. Now, all of this sounds like normal information. Nothing noteworthy about it. Except, wait a second. Who is this we're talking about? It's Dave Ramsey. And what does Dave Ramsey say about credit cards? Remember, he says to cut them up, to not use them. This travel guide directly contradicts Dave Ramsey's, program. If this was Dave Ramsey's program, right, he would say, use cash, or if you need to use a debit card, use a debit card. Do not use credit cards because credit cards are evil. Of course, Dave Ramsey doesn't sound like that. I don't think I can do a good Dave Ramsey impression. Or maybe Dave is just being honest here with himself for once, because credit cards are way more convenient for international travel. Because you don't want to take a bunch of cash with you. You could lose your cash. And debit cards, I think, aren't as good either. At least for me, with my Capital One card, I get really good exchange rates. And the Capital One card seems to work like everywhere internationally. Not to like plug Capital One or anything. But yeah, when traveling internationally, credit cards just shine, which is why I like credit cards. But since Dave doesn't, I don't know what he would do. In fact, the whole idea of taking a cruise is a little decadent. Of course, he says this is for people that have completed, steps 1 through 3 of his baby steps. But in essence, people that are debt-free, I think, but haven't paid off their house necessarily. Whoa, it also wants a $600 deposit. I guess it also has a big list of people. I don't think I know any of the people except Dave Ramsey. I think I may have heard of Rachel Cruise. And I recognize this George Camel guy. I don't recognize anyone else. Looks like they've got some like country singers too or something. Some kind of magician. Oh, and it clarifies that Dave Ramsey really will be there. And that you can even get a picture with him or some of the other Dave Ramsey personalities. Okay, listen to this. One of the FAQs. What if I miss any of the Dave Ramsey talks? Don't worry, you'll be able to stream all Ramsey personalities and guest entertainers' performances live from the comfort of your cabin. Okay, so that's all pretty funny. Funny enough, though, while I was on the cruise, one of my favorite channels to watch we would call Boat TV. And it was just a view, like a camera on the top of the boat, showing you what the boat was doing. Like just looking out forward. There's something just comforting, sitting there in your cabin, feeling the waves and such, as you watch the boat progress through the ocean. Alright, that's probably a sufficient ramble for today. This definitely wasn't the episode I thought I was going to record today. Maybe that episode will come soon. Alright, thanks for listening. Alright, well, thanks for listening. I guess. You deserve some sort of an award or something. Yeah. I don't have anything, so just go away, I guess.